We are coming off a wild week 4. The vibes are high, though, because we got a winner here. And Thursday night football, you might think it's ugly. Not us. We're here to find winners. It is time for the Player Profiler Pick Em Power Hour. Welcome back to the Player Profiler Pick Em Power Hour. We are your hosts, Ahaan Rungta, and a winner from last week, Trevor Tipton. Trevor, we're here after a week 4 where I did not have a good time, but you certainly did. We put up an 8-6 performance on the underdog pick generator. Not bad at all things considered. In a week where it seems like a lot of people across Twitter, for me, were losing money. And you came out on top. Let the people know how you feel.
Yeah, that was. I actually saw the same. I think I'm always, for the most part, a fade the public guy. I want to fade what mass thinking is doing, not necessarily chasing money per se, but I'm trying to fade the public a lot of times. The Bijan, we talked about it. That line was pretty simple for me. I don't think it's this low moving forward the rest of the season. I think it's 30 plus going forward. He's special. Ritter can't throw. I don't understand how they can watch Ritter and not at least give Heineke a shot. Like, with all the weapons that they have, I'll never understand Arthur Smith. And my boy Brock getting it done again. It's in a game that he didn't have to keep throwing a ton. He still got it there. I'm super excited for this matchup this week, right? We get the Cowboys. I wish, so I'm in Dallas right now on our tour. I wish the game was here. I would very much be suited and booted going to the game if it was here. But it's, back in San Francisco. But Purdy's, I'm a Purdy fan. And if you go back and look at me and Billy Muzio's tweets from last season, everybody was coming at him and I. And we kept telling everybody, we're like, guys, watch his footwork, watch his reads, he's doing things that you need him to do. I get he's the, he'll always be Mr. Irrelevant. But we're going to talk about that with some other quarterbacks moving forward, where we are. And our we didn't get the other side of it right. Our pick with underdog last week for their special was one we felt very dirty about, and it crushed. So I actually kind of like when things feel gross and dirty, because a lot of times when it's uncomfortable, that's the right play.
Yeah, I love it. And for me, this Bears Commanders game is, it touches it hits home for me. So for those of you who have been following me personally for a while, the last time these two faced off, it was Thursday night football. It was prime time. I don't remember if it was Thursday or Monday, but it was prime time, and nobody wanted a piece of Carson Wentz versus Justin Fields. And I hit my biggest same game parlay of the season, plus 5,600 that day. So Justin Fields to Dante Pettis for a touchdown, brings back some memories for me. So no more Dante Pettis this time. I know that's a name you love as well, Trevor, but no more Dante Pettis this time. But I see some spots where we could find winners anyway. And that game was 12-7. I don't think we're going to see a 12-7 game again. So I'm excited to hit some pick'ems for this game. Trevor, I think, is muted. While he gets that figured out, though, another review of
no, I'm here. I was coughing, and I didn't want to offend everybody with my cough.
But yeah, so for those of you who are listening, post show on the podcast, coming off the winner, the winner was Purdy higher than 230.5 passing yards, and Bijan Robinson higher than 25.5 receiving yards. And I was on Bijan receptions, on the books myself, and the Purdy projection closed a few yards higher, right? And it was so important for us to get that. A few days early before it closed at, I believe it was 233.5 that it closed at. And if you want to get these picks early, and for Sunday, even earlier than the show, you want to go to the underdog pick generator on the DFS Dominator of PlayerProfiler.com. You want to sign up for that. We went 8-6 on picks, and we'll provide about 10 to 15 picks each week, from both of us that we both like. And I believe this week we each went 4-3, which is kind of hilarious given, you came out with the actual winner. You actually picked the right ones for the show. So kudos to you I went with the Patriots and Cowboys game is high scoring narrative. Yeah, we all know how that went. So, um,
Rough
yeah,
week for your Patriots too, man. Rough.
yeah,
Judon and your boy Gonzalez. That's a rough time. I actually have a lot of them in fantasy defense, and I chose to move on this week now because of it. Like those are too big of losses for me to keep riding them, which stinks because they had a pretty good schedule moving forward.
Yeah, and if for you Patriots fans who are watching, I know there are a few of you. If you didn't believe it was over until now, well, now you do. So, regardless, though, we're going to find winners for Thursday, and we're going to look at a little bit of this Week 5 slate. But right before we do that, we always have, the Podfather does his own takeaways show just for his top 10 takeaways, and we love to watch that. The Podfather is hilarious, and whether or not we agree with all of his takeaways, it's insane content.
We never agree with all of his takeaways, but we love the content.
Yeah. There are takeaways where I personally will save some of them and pull out the receipts and throw it in his face at staff meetings when he's wrong. Like people on Twitter who are super tough about it, like the Podfather was wrong. Well, we do the same, so you're not ahead of the game here at all, right? So, I wanted to know, just a couple of our takeaways, and really, I just want an opportunity to rant about someone. But Trevor, you go first. What are you taking out of Week 4?
Well, your rant is my rant because at that position, and I have 5 figures into season long fantasy. Like that's not an exaggeration. That's what I have in. I really, really care about the player you're going to rant about. So I will probably agree with every word you have to say. But mine is if you're the Carolina Panthers right now and you come out, oh, we needed a wide receiver 1, is how frustrated are you watching Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, knowing that both those quarterbacks went behind them and you could have either one of those guys compared to Bryce Young? And my comp is I was never a Bryce Young guy. I don't believe he has the body type to play in the NFL. I just don't think he has it. I think Drew Brees was special, and he is an outlier. And I think everybody drafts guys that size and smaller, hoping they can be a Brees, but a lot of them don't make it. My question is we're early, right? It's first year. We're only 4 weeks in, but here's my great overreaction. Does Bryce Young end up with the Trubisky, Leaf, Russell tag of just all-time busts? We don't know yet because it's too early, and nobody's ever going to be Jamarcus. Like nobody's ever not reading their playbook. Like that bar is going to be pretty high to catch someday. But Trubisky, right, getting drafted before Mahomes. We know the story with Leaf. There's different things there. I don't know that Young has the talent to ever really be a starter in the NFL. He might end up, one of those guys that's a career backup. But my early take is he's not an NFL starting quarterback at this point, and I don't know that he is moving forward.
I think I'm not quite where you are yet, and which is weird because I feel like if there was anybody to be on this train as quickly as possible, it would be me. Just because like I was super like before the draft, I was saying I don't care where he lands. CJ Stroud is QB1. And Anthony Richardson, I think that's the big takeaway here because we spent a lot of time talking about Bryce Young last week. I think Anthony Richardson, particularly looking good, has been maybe the most surprising thing of the draft to me because I was right about CJ Stroud. I was right about Bryce Young. And Anthony, I was right that, Will Levis was not going to play. But I still think the ceiling is potentially a starter in the NFL for Levis, but we'll still have to wait on that. But with Anthony Richardson, he's simply been a good enough thrower of the football to compete, which is mind-boggling to me. So shout out Anthony Richardson.
He has thrown the ball way better than I was willing to let him believe he could be. Like I didn't think he would have this. Obviously, he's been working on it. So that is where we at. And then the question starts. For the fantasy community, we'll tossing that in. I'm curious tonight at NFC and FFPC because we saw some last night on the ESPN Yahoo leagues. People are dropping Joe Burrow, right? And it's I'll be interested to see what happens in the high stakes community tonight. I don't think we see a ton just because what's on the waiver wire, but I'll be interested to see if we get any this week.
Yeah, and tie this all back to the Pick'ems. I know one guy you've been going back to every week, and I went to for the main card a couple of weeks ago was Jamar Chase, and to me, I said this on Twitter a couple of days ago. The Bengals are 1-3. T. Higgins is going to be out a few weeks. If the Bengals have any sort of direction, going forward, trying to win a Super Bowl next year, it's over, right? Like we need to call this season, give Joe Burrow his rest. He's playing injured. You're not doing him any favors by putting him out there with Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd and freaking what's his face, Irv Smith, right? You're not doing anybody any favors. We have someone in the in the chat, Anthony, saying Frank Reich play calling not doing any Bryce any favors. Bryce is not good. He hasn't been good under pressure. He hasn't been good when clean in the pocket. And I've been hearing a lot of excuses about the offensive line. Just so you know, by pass block win rate, the Panthers' offensive line has been better than the Texans' offensive line because all their starters are hurt. So I don't want to hear the excuses. He was the 101. He has not been the 101 so far at all. Anyway.
So speaking of line work, that ties into your rant of the week.
Yes, speaking of offensive lines, who isn't a professional football team in the offensive line? It's the New York Giants. But I just want to say, regardless of the offensive line, regardless of your opinions of the quarterback, Darren Waller, who we have, in our season long, and I promise you, I'm not one of those guys who just blames players when our picks are not looking good. I'm taking it on the chest that Zeke was probably a bad pick. That's on me. What's not on me is that Darren Waller is a fraud, right? This for the last several years, Darren Waller has, gotten high praise for good reason. Elite athletic profile, which you like at tight end. With Derek Carr, he produced. He's been a good pass catcher. Sometimes, a little more injured for a liking, but when he's played, he's looked good. Now I'm wondering why does he look completely different this year? And you look at some of his stats, you need to earn targets, right? Who else is around? Isaiah Hodgins, obviously, I love Isaiah Hodgins personally. You have Isaiah Hodgins, and then who do you have? Paris Campbell, who is just not good at football. You have Wan'Dale Robinson just getting back, and by the way, shout out Wan'Dale Robinson, hit me a plus 3,000 on the books, on prime time. But Wan'Dale Robinson just coming back from injury is already commanding more in this offense than Darren Waller. When Darren Waller was supposed to be the guy that steps in as the wide receiver one, he's getting the air yard share because they're trying to get him the ball, but he's not catching the football. He's not making the tough catches. Number 33 in true catch rate. He's not earning targets, and when he's getting the targets, he's not making the contested ones. He's a 31-year-old who is starting to look like he's going towards the wash path. I fell for it. I made some of you all fall for it, and I'm saying it now. He's a fraud. I'm done with him. For now, I will be targeting his lower thans in any sort of matchup that is good.
I have a lot of exposure to him. And then we just saw it at the end of the game. All of a sudden, Daniel Jones started throwing on the ball again. That game was horrendous Monday night. If you're the Giants, go sign guys off the street. Like, there's got to be guys off the street you can get, guys you can go trade for that are better than what you're putting out there. And shout out to Daniel Jones, because I actually think there's 3 or 4 more sacks if he's not as mobile as he is. He had less than 2 seconds on almost every play to throw the ball. You can't function in the NFL in 2023 with less than 2 seconds. I don't care who you are. That's just not possible. I feel like part of it is I feel like they're trying to get cute with Waller. Like they're trying to make him also like a decoy, right? Like they know, hey, we're going to go use him. Just throw the best dude on your team the ball. And let's see what happens. And that's for the same. I put my money where my mouth is. I got a lot of skin in the game with him. So I would like him to get going. Fortunately, I also drafted a ton of Kincaid and more importantly, Laporta right now. I think by the end of the season, Kincaid has a very good season. I think Laporta does. It's going to help me, but man, I need Waller to get going. And if I'm a Giants fan, I don't know what to do. Right? You just paid Danny a lot of money, and that's the line you're sending out in front of him. It's really bad. Like I don't know how they can think this is the line we're going to put out in an NFL game. Like,
yeah, and just for some a little more added context, and when you type Daniel Jones on the Player Profiler website, my name, a picture of me may or may not show up on his player page because he's been one of my truthers. Just so you know, that was 2 years ago, right? I called his breakout season last year, and I still have no shame having my face associated with his player page because number one in the NFL in drop passes, the New York Giants. Darren Waller is a fraud. This offensive line is not a professional, does not constitute one of a professional football team. So I think the hate that y'all are sending to Daniel Jones, spread some of the love, or just spread some of the hate in this case. Spread it to Darren Waller, spread it to the offensive line. But that ends my rant. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Justin Fields versus Sam Howell is about to make the vibes good again. And before we get into Thursday Night Football, let's just hear a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, so many ask me, what's wrong with sportsbooks? Why so many of them fail? The answer is simple. They don't innovate. They're just casino sportsbooks on a phone. That's all they've been. There are a few that are doing a good job. We partner with them. Most of them, not so much. Until Bet Openly came along. Bet Openly said, hey, we're going to innovate. We're going to do something groundbreaking. We're going to have peer-to-peer betting in all states, and you pay 1%. When you win, you pay just 1% on your winnings. You heard that right. It's 1%. With code Underworld, you qualify for just that 1% transaction fee on Bet Openly. It gives you ultimate flexibility to set your own lines and browse lines that others have set. Think about it. That's what betting should be. And now that is the reality. BetOpenly.com. The code is Underworld. Check it out.
We are back on the Player Profiler Pick Em Hour with Rungta, Trevor Tipton, and we are so excited for Justin Fields versus Sam Howell. Those are words that I don't mind saying. We're going to find some winners for you for this Week 5 Thursday Night Football game. We're 2-2 on Thursday Night Football collabs, right? We do an entry together before our bonus show on Friday where we go over the Sunday and Monday slate. But we're 2-2 on these, which is profitable, right? If we had half of these, we're doubling our money each time with these 2 picks on Underdog. And if you want to tail, it's promo code Underworld upon entry. We're going to hit the Underdog lab right now. Trevor, this is an interesting game if you just look at the sports books and look at the lines, right? The Bears have some injuries. They have a cornerback out. They have a line or cornerback Jalen Johnson is out there. Free safety Eddie Jackson is out. Jaquan Brisker is questionable. Chase Claypool is headed to Japan most likely. So the Chicago Bears rightfully underdogs here, but it's a big number, and the Vegas total is 44.5. You do the math on it. The implied total for Washington is the 5th highest on the slate in Week 5. Very interesting, as it makes sense. The Bears' defense is not good. Trevor, get us started. What are you looking for in this game? How are you approaching the board?
Yeah, so we have a 24.5 implied total right now for the Commanders. It's a short week. One of the things I like that, and I'm going to hit a couple of these this season, is Underdog has added their spicy pick'ems. So you can get, touchdowns, sacks, different options. I wish I would have stacked more sacks against Danny Jones the other night. Those were all panned like 1.5 times. So that would have been fun. But the whole world is on Sam Howell and the receiver overs and hires, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I get it. I get the matchup, but this is also a short week. And in short weeks, coaches have less time to install different plays. So the man I'm going back to this week was actually our pick for last week, and it felt gross just because of the matchup. But I'm going with Brian Robinson this week, and we're going over 63.5 yards. So a couple things. He's getting 66% of the team's rushing attempts. He has 182 yards after contact, which is top 10 in the NFL. That's a big one for me. I'm looking for my running backs. I want players that can get yards after contact. The true line for this, based on player profiler projections for him for the week, says if you were going to go bet this and not play it in a DFS play at Underdog, the line for it should be minus 197. So when I'm looking for pick 'em plays that I can find value in, I want to find when our models say the true line value is 160, 170, 180, 197. Those are places I think we're getting a lot of value, because as these get close to there, those will move. I actually believe this gets moved up a little bit tomorrow as we get closer to it. And then when you want to talk about terrible defenses, we talk about the Chicago Bears. Remember, the Chicago Bears could have drafted Jalen Carter, and instead, for 2 wooden nickels and some eye contact, let the Philadelphia Eagles have him for nothing. Just amazing to me. I really like this. I think they're going to use him this week. I think they're going to gash him. The only team in terms of, giving up points-wise to running backs that's worse has been the Broncos, and I think this is a pretty easy smash spot for Robinson.
I like it, and we talked about Brian Robinson when you said that you were going to go with him for this, and my initial instinct was it's short rest, right? Shouldn't you be scared about a running back, that's especially a grinder like Brian Robinson is? But we started seeing some of the book lines come out. It started opening, lower than this, and then his rushing attempts line, and we all know how sharp those are after our Christian McCaffrey experience a couple of weeks ago. That Vegas knows way better than we do how coaches are going to use him, right? And his rushing attempts line is 15.5. So given the matchup, I think the 64 number is very attainable if he can get, even if he hooks the rushing attempts number and gets to 15 carries. Even for an inefficient player like Brian Robinson, this is a matchup for him to not be inefficient, right? So the usage, Vegas clearly thinks it's going to be there. So as a pick-in, makes a lot of sense. And speaking of Vegas, if you want to hit the books for some plays, especially before Sunday, on Friday night, Memphis Young, our very own Memphis Young, does a show called The Juice on Friday nights. So you want to go join him late night on Friday nights, right after our bonus show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Head over to the Player Profiler Network, to hit some book plays with him. And speaking of book plays, you see on the board right now, if you're watching us on stream, Underdog has these things called boosters, right? And for example, Justin Fields, half a rushing plus receiving touchdown, right? This is the equivalent of an anytime touchdown on a sports book. And usually you don't see stuff like this on Pick'ems, because the Pick'ems you want mostly even juice on both sides, but this is plus money on the books. Well, Underdog has added some of these plus money, on the books. They would be props, but they've added them as pick'ems on the board, and you can take this, but you get the booster for to reflect the fact that it is essentially a quote unquote plus money prop. So I'm going to mess around with some of these boosters that I like, and you already see the fumbles lost. You can take Justin Fields to fumble if you're as big of a hater as I am. But for our main collab play, I'm going to keep it simple. If I end up with some of these long shots that I really like, maybe we can cook up something right before game time in the Player Profiler Discord. But I'm heading to Justin Fields higher than 47.5 rushing yards, right? So we're sticking with the ground game theme, and Justin Fields, again, I think people are going to be on his passing in this game for some of the reasons you mentioned earlier with how is the Commanders secondary, not the best, right? But specifically, they're 6-point underdogs. They're going to have to pass the ball a lot, right? This is the instinct you get. The Bears are going to be down. They're going to have to pass a lot. But you take a little closer of a look at Justin Fields in this matchup, and the value resides in the rushing. Why? Well, he faces a Commanders team where they have weaknesses, but one of their weaknesses or one of their strengths is they pressure the quarterback, number 11 in the NFL in pressure rate so far this season. And Justin Fields, so far, what has he done? So in week 1, he faced a Green Bay Packers defense that has a decent secondary, but doesn't really pressure the quarterback as much as the Commanders, and still goes 9 rushes, 59 yards. Week 2, he goes against the athletic Bucks defense, and the Bucks defense is one that I've actually picked out in the past to take lower than on rushing yards before, right? I hit the Jalen Hurts under on rushing yards against Tampa Bay, a couple weeks ago, because the Tampa Bay Bucks, they're a really bad matchup for those mobile quarterbacks. So in that one, he rushes 4 times, just 3 yards. I'm throwing that out the window. Week 3, he faces the Chiefs, another good defense, 11-47. And then against Denver last week, 425, just rushed 4 times and still produced 25 yards. Now you look at what the last 3 quarterbacks have done against Washington and against that high pressure rate defense. Russell Wilson, 6 carries, 56 yards. Josh Allen, 3 carries, 46 yards. Jalen Hurts, 9 carries, 34 yards. And if you take a look a little bit at the Jalen Hurts stuff, some of those were just, the brotherly shove pushes. So, that's going to obviously reduce his yards per carry. But also Hurts has just been running less in the Shane Steichen system. Not too many designed runs. You know who has had a few design runs this year? Justin Fields. 5 design runs, the second most in the NFL, just one shy of the NFL lead. And his rushing attempts line on the book, if you look at DraftKings, for example, it's set at 7.5, and the over is starting to get majorly juiced. It's minus 145 on DraftKings for him to have over 7.5 rushing attempts. So they think he's going to scramble. They think he's going to maybe have a couple of design runs as well. And since last year, in games where he rushed at least 7 times, so even if the books think he's going to get at least 8 carries, even if he gets just 7, he got this over 47.5 in 10 out of 16 of those games where he rushed at least 7 times. So I love this higher than 47.5 rushing yards in a game that I think will be close, and Justin Fields is going to have to drop back a lot. But we all know that Justin Fields has not been good this year under pressure. You can look at his player profiler page, just all the stats, not good under pressure as a thrower. How about he just runs out of the pocket, creates something with his legs? Justin Fields higher, 47.5 rushing yards.
And speaking of those spicy ways, I will for sure have one for Thursday night for everybody in our Player Profiler Discord. If you scroll down to Washington there, Ahaan, one of the ones I like, and it coincides with why I like Fields over. I also think Fields gets sacked. I think they're going to bring the pressure on him, and we got some spicy picks. Keep scrolling. We got some spicy boosters for. Do they not have it right now?
Not right now. They might.
They're up for me. So let me pull it back up. So right now I can get Jonathan Allen has a sack at higher 1.25. Who else was on there? Darren Payne has a sack. So there's some spicy sack ones for Washington that I have right now.
I'm going to refresh the board. We have a 100K Sunday special drop. We're going to have picks for those on,
got Diggs? Interesting. I got CD Lamb right now.
Oh, we have different ones. How spicy.
I wonder if they're doing it based on your area, right? Because you're in the Northeast, and I'm literally in Dallas right now.
Huh. Buffalo versus Jacksonville. I'm in Massachusetts. Regardless, we're good. These 100K Sunday specials, they keep rotating over the course of the week. And speaking of gross, you mentioned gross, and I completely forgot to mention. Remember, we were unenthusiastically picking a Dameon Pierce higher than. That was so
that's
free.
What I was referencing. I referenced his last week. Like, it felt disgusting, and he murdered it.
Yeah, that was so free, and we paired it with Dalton Kincaid. So we had that too. It just none of us want to talk about Dameon Pierce, so we didn't mention it. But we're gonna have 100K Sunday special, recommendations, on our bonus show on Friday. And if you have the underdog pick generator, you can just pick whichever ones you like the most from our 10 to 15 picks and just pair it with your 100K special. I refreshed the board so that I could see.
Yeah, because I have all the defensive players.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Go.
Yep.
Ooh, Jonathan Allen.
Yeah.
Hey, unofficial play. We're not going to track this because, I just know for a fact, spoiler alert, I'm going to be on the Stephon Diggs higher. You can't do the boosters. Yeah, you can't do the boosters with 100K.
Oh, okay. But you
Now you
could do
know.
boosters with boosters.
Yes. I'm not going to say this out loud. I'm
Yeah,
locking this in.
yeah.
A
Let's get it.
pivot to Justin Fields, rushing yards. Maybe he scores a touchdown. That's so nice. Booster with
Yeah,
booster.
Mike. So we actually, Ahaan and I both right now have different ones. He has Diggs over his receiving yards. I have CeeDee Lamb. I also travel, so I'm in Dallas currently, and I'm thinking that's maybe why I have the Lamb. They're kind of Ahaan's in the Northeast. They're kind of targeted different areas. So we each have a different one right now. It'll be interesting to see what how that rolls out. I'm gonna text some people in Cali right now and see what theirs is.
Yeah. So we have a question from chat. Great question. We were so excited to talk about the 100K special. We didn't explain what it was. So Mike asked, what is the 100K special? Great question. Every week this year, Underdog is running a quote unquote 100K Sunday special because they're giving out $100,000 to several participants on Underdog. And the way you enter these sweepstakes is you go to the Underdog pick board and you see the featured yellow square that says 100K Sunday. You have to put this in an entry and you're into the lottery, right? It doesn't matter if the pick loses. Let's say I pick higher on Stephon Diggs and he goes lower. I can still be in the lottery and it'll be drawn randomly, and Underdog is going to dish out loads of thousands of dollars to contestants who have that in their entry. So it's basically a lottery ticket at perhaps somewhere around $10,000. Except you can also just, even if you don't win, you can win your entry, right? So a win-win for you there. So that's the 100K special. We're going to have, like I said, picks for Sunday and Monday, and figure out how to use our 100K specials. But I just sneak sprinkled on this Jonathan Allen higher than quarter of a sacks booster, which I like that look from you, and I paired it with Justin Fields touchdown. So that's just a side piece for me personally, but I'm going to lock in our collab entry of the day for Thursday Night Football, and it's Brian Robinson higher than 63.5 rushing yards, and Justin Fields higher than 46.5. Is that a bump down? Oh,
Yeah.
Is that a bump down? It's minus 130 on the books, and we have 46.5.
Yeah, we got an extra yard. Yeah. Look at that. Talking about the 100K special got us another yard. I love it.
And half a unit on that has been placed. Please remember to stick to your bankroll recommendations. We're 2-2 on these. It's because we place, a half a unit on each of these. We're going to stay profitable long term and end up, profitable on the season. I'm not nuking anything, right? I hate when people say I'm nuking this.
Oh gosh, never.
We're sticking to the bankroll because you saw what happened with Luke Musgrave last week. Anything can happen. We can lose a play, even if they make a mistake and make the line 4.5 yards. It's obviously the right play to take the higher, but it can lose, right? So we're sticking to the bankroll recommendation, and for our recommendation for these collabs, half a unit each, and our entry is locked in. We have a looks like private chat. It's not loading, but we do have a question in chat which is fantasy related, and the question is trade Mostert for Watson or Godwin. So glad you brought it up. I am trading Mostert for either of those. I prefer Watson over Godwin, but I'm doing that easily. Devon Achane is him.
Yeah. I'm same. This is go try to get it clicked before you can't get it clicked. Like I say, I go Watson before Godwin, but I say right. Like get it before you can't get it.
Yep, love it. Speaking of Devon Achane, a lot of action going on Sunday that I'm very interested in. I'm particularly interested in this Eagles-Rams game. I think that line by Vegas is so interesting. But if you want the Vegas, the sportsbook side of it, you got to head over to the Juice on Friday nights. But if you want to win more pick'ems, schedule tomorrow, which is Thursday. Thursday morning. If you're listening on podcast, you already know it's been uploaded. On podcast version, but Thursday. We're having our early leans for week 5 on the Underdog Pick Generator on the DFS Dominator at PlayerProfiler.com. And on Friday, the bonus show where we talk about our favorite pick'ems. And this time, Hopefully I picked the right ones. Trevor's going to try to go for back-to-back winners. All kinds of content, both betting and pick'ems, coming in article form as well. Player Profiler, but it's time for some rushing in Thursday Night Football. I'm excited after hopefully we see you after another Thursday Night Football winner.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.